me. So Hannah, I'm going to pass over to you, and then I'll be back in 5 minutes to announce all the winners.
Oh, kia ora everyone, can everyone hear me? Oh, tēnā koutou. Thanks so much, Kate. You're such an epic MC. I've been having a great time listening to you. And I really enjoyed the 2 sessions I went to with Shirley and Nick, and I'm sure the other ones were great too. So thanks for having me. Thanks to Jenny and Plastic Free July Aotearoa crew for pulling this together. And there's just been so many inspiring and encouraging things happening out there. Many of you on this call will have been taking action to reduce plastic or waste for some time. Others of you will be newer to this. It's just been amazing to see everyone's posts in the chat about things they're going to be doing for Plastic Free July. So ka pai to everyone. We're all at different stages in this journey, and all any of us can really do is just take one step at a time and do what we can to keep moving forwards. As we're working out where to start, but also what new actions to take or how to deepen those actions that we might already be taking, I'd like to invite everyone kind of to think about some of the things that cheap plastic has enabled in us. So did I mute myself? Can you hear me again? I'm not sure when I started muting myself. Anyway, I'd like to invite everyone to think about some of the things that cheap plastic has enabled in our society since the 1950s, and to think about what that means for how we might tackle the plastic crisis that we're faced with today. So don't feel freaked out by some of these things, but just think of them as some useful guiding principles to mull over the long term. So first, cheap plastic has enabled a throwaway culture with all of the resource extraction, greenhouse gas emissions and pollution that comes with that throughout the full life cycle of products. So when we think about pushing back against plastic, part of that is about pushing back on the single-use mentality and embracing a culture of reuse. So what that might mean is that rather than replacing plastic items with more throwaway items made of other materials like paper or glass, we maybe can try to look for try to source products in our lives that come in reusables, and support businesses that offer unpackaged items that we can then put in our own bags and containers, whether that's zero waste grocers or bin-ins or your local cafe that accepts keep cups and BYO containers for takeaways. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the throwaway culture that cheap plastic has enabled has also underpinned the consumerism in our society as goods move really rapidly through our economy. So the consumerism and constant manufacture of new products also produces sort of monumental amounts of waste, pollution and greenhouse gas emissions as well. So when you're thinking about going plastic free and you're thinking about reusables instead of disposables and doing some of those simple swaps, see what you can do with what you have already, or check out local op shops and resource recovery centers to get things secondhand rather than going out to buy new things. So for example, you probably don't need to buy a reusable cutlery set and a fancy cutlery holder. You can just kind of open your cutlery drawer and grab some cutlery and wrap it in a tea towel or a napkin and you're good to go. Alternatively, you don't have to buy fancy containers for your takeaways. I often just use this ice cream container for my takeaways. And this little guy here is my keep cup. It's just a glass jar with some elastic bands on it. It's quite fun to get creative and resourceful, and truly this tends to be much more fun and also cheaper than buying new things. Third is that cheap plastic has enabled quite a big range of convenience-based, pre-made, processed foods and other grocery items that exist on store shelves that quite possibly wouldn't be there if we'd never had plastic in the first place. So a big part of going plastic free is really about questioning our reliance on some of these kinds of mass-produced foods and products that are inside the throwaway plastics that we're trying to avoid. So trying to look to like smaller stores, the little guys that stock simpler, more locally sourced food that's easier to get without packaging. So the kinds of things you can get in bulk, like Whole Foods, meat from butchers, bread from bakers. So sometimes achieving this can mean simplifying and adapting our diets a little bit and changing our expectations. And that willingness to try new things also extends to being open to new ways of getting goods to consumers that enable reduced packaging. So things like getting toiletries in bar form so you don't need plastic bottles because there's no liquid. And the fourth and final thing is that cheap throwaway plastics have been enabled by many decades of the public not speaking out about this issue. But the tide is turning now, thanks to people like Rebecca who've started Plastic Free July and other advocates. So in your plastic-free next few weeks and beyond. I really encourage you to have this conversation with your friends and your family, your politicians. What are they doing for Plastic-Free July? That was quite powerful, Kate asking Eugenie Sage that question. And also ask your local businesses or big corporations what they're doing. Like, I really want to know, what is McDonald's and Coca-Cola doing for Plastic-Free July? And get behind campaigns that are bringing voice to the public on these issues. So there's the Takeaway Throwaways petition calling for the government to ban single-use takeaway packaging and replace it with reuse systems. And there's also Greenpeace New Zealand, who've just released a campaign to ban single-use plastic drink bottles that you can sign up to as well. So some ways to use your voice over the next month. So on that note, I just want to say, be brave, be courageous, be creative, take this opportunity to really enjoy the real joys and benefits of a life with less throwaways. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's frustrating, but I really hope that you find it positive and rewarding and that you want to carry it on beyond July as well. So as Liam and I also always say, if you need a hand with anything, please just write us an email, send us a message on social media. We're always happy to help, and have an awesome